Okay, everyone, welcome back to On Purpose, the #1 health podcast in the world. Thank you so much for coming back every single week to listen, to learn, and to grow from some of the most amazing minds in the world. And today's guest is definitely not going to disappoint. He's absolutely awesome. His name is Hasan Minhaj, and he is a comedian, an actor, the host and creator of the amazing Netflix series Patriot Act. And in 2019, he received and was named in the Time 100's most influential people in the world. And this is the audio introduction going in as well. His 1-hour Netflix comedy special, Homecoming King, earned him a 2018 Peabody Award. Hasan joined The Daily Show with Jon Stewart as a correspondent and continued on after Trevor Noah took over as host and remained on the show through August 2018. He also spoke at the 2017 White House Correspondents' Dinner. Hasan, it is so awesome to have you here, man.
Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, I had to do it with you here.
That was very flattering and touching.
Because it's all true. And I have to be honest with you, the first time I saw you live was when you came to LA last year at the Ace Theater. And we didn't know each other then, but you were amazing. I thought you were absolutely brilliant. And that comes from someone who only moved to the US 3 years ago. So just catching up on politics.
Oh, wow.
And then I met you through our mutual friend and family, Lily, which was awesome, which was a much more intimate setting.
Yeah.
And I have to say, man, like you just have this captivating, always on energy. And I was just like fixated on everything you were saying.
Yeah.
And I was like, I need to have this guy on the podcast.
It got very deep, very fast. I was asking a lot of like philosophical questions and deep geopolitical questions. And it got very intense.
Absolutely, man. Yeah. Absolutely. But today I want to dive into your journey.
Sure.
You finding your purpose. I want to go back to, your upbringing here as a first generation American.
Yeah.
And I want to talk a lot about, what drives and motivates you. Because when I see you as an activist disguised as a comedian.
Oh,
right? That's how I see you. That's just my way. That's how I see you. But what drives and motivates Hasan?
I would say right now, the things that drive me the most are saying and doing the things that I did not believe was possible 5, 10, or even 15 years ago.
Wow.
That's what really gets me excited. Like when I choose an episode for Patriot Act, I just try to think about, can I be as real and as raw and as honest as I am with the homies on WhatsApp? Like that's what you're really trying to do as an artist, to be like, can I be that raw? You always think about that, right? Like there's like the persona that we have when we're meeting people, and then there's iMessage persona.
Yeah. That's
where
so
like,
true.
Dude, if this gets leaked, I'm getting canceled.
Yeah.
But how do you be that just
and when has it got to those points where it's like super difficult? Or are you starting to find that really easy?
That's the no, that's not easy. That's the challenge. Like, that's the challenge to making great art. So the topics that we've picked on the show were things that I got threads on threads about, U.S. relationship with Saudi Arabia, the Indian elections, like, there's just everything you've seen on the show is pretty much something that I've talked about with friends, policing in America. These are like third rail issues that are very, very difficult to dive into and can be divisive. But to me, I find them to be the most rewarding. So
yeah, that's amazing, man. And where do you go on that spectrum of like, is this too risky? Is this not? How are you pushing yourself? Like, what is that process of pushing yourself in that direction? Because I think, like you're saying, so many people just shy away from stuff.
Sure.
You're hitting it head on. But tell us that process in your head of like, how far do I go? How do I push myself? How do I not settle for, going for the obvious?
Yeah. Look, like the Overton window is only so wide, right? And obviously, given everything that's happening in the world right now, certain political figures have stretched that Overton window to places where it's sometimes insane or crazy. To me, it's really about seeing how far can I stretch it constructively, and am I being argumentatively accurate? And this is where I lean on the news team and the writing team a bunch is, are our facts straight? And then after that, I kind of, I throw up a prayer and hope and I hope the man upstairs, protects me. And I think I certainly hope the audience can, even if they disagree with me, can acknowledge just he's trying. This is a good faith effort.
Yeah,
absolutely. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get that. That's really powerful.
And look, like you're talking about the medium that we're in. We're looking at cameras. This is going to be on YouTube. There is a lot of media manipulation. So leaning in for controversy over dialogue, or leaning into just super hyperbole instead of being like really accurate. I think I've tried to be a good faith actor, even when I'm doing a tough topic that people I know are going to disagree with me.
Yeah, I feel that. And how do you prepare yourself for that potential backlash or that potential criticism that naturally comes? And I know you've talked about it before, but how are you like mentally prepared for it? Like ready for it? So that, because I love that, because what you're saying is, hey, I'm going to prepare and put my best foot forward. Like,
Yes.
I'm going to show you that I've done the research.
Yeah.
We've done the fact checking. I'm not just trying to say something because it sounds good.
Yeah.
So you've done all that. So that's kind of where your confidence comes from. But how do you prepare for the backlash? Or is that it?
I think I've just gotten better and better about it over time. Being at the Daily Show, I saw John deal with it head on. Then when Trevor became the host, I saw Trevor deal with it head on. So, I had courtside seats to see really great people be in the eye of the storm. And so, over time, I've just gotten better and better at it. And I've been able to take criticism, I think, a little bit better now, because we've now established a body of work.
Mm-hmm.
So at some point, people might be upset that I'm attacking something that is sacred to them. But if you look at the 30 other topics that we've done, people are totally cool with it.
Yeah.
And the longer we do the show, you can clearly see that, like, I don't have a specific agenda. Like,
Yeah.
I'm an equal opportunity person who's going to go at whether it's a big politician, a political leader, or a corporate institution.
I love that about you, man. And I think you do it really, really well. Honestly speaking, like, I think it's rare to find someone who can do it so effectively and articulately. So thank you for doing that, man. I appreciate it. I mean that
Wow,
genuinely.
thanks.
I think it's awesome. Tell me about, I want to go a bit into, like, your father wanted you to go to law school,
Yeah. Yes.
right?
Yes.
Tell us about what would have happened in Hassan's life if he followed through on his father and parents' path, and what they thought of what you ended up doing.
Well, dude, I got fired from every other job I had. So, like, I worked at Safeway. I got fired. I
Is there a
worked at
Safeway here too?
the grocery store.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my
not
God.
not here on the East Coast. It's
I
called
worked at
Vaughn's.
Safeway too.
You worked at
Yeah,
Safeway?
yeah.
What, London?
In England, yeah. In London.
They have Safeway?
We had Safeway. That's why when you said it, I was like, what?
No, I bagged groceries at.
So did I.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, crazy. All right,
Yeah. There's a grocery store called Safeway, and they also used to have this thing called plastic bags, and baggers would put groceries in plastic bags.
Yeah, I used to do that too. But yeah, sorry, Karen, you got fired from every job.
I got fired from pretty much every job that I had.
Yeah.
So, Safeway, Office Max, wherever I was working. And generally when I got fired, like the manager would call me in, and they liked me. They'd be like, "Hey, look, Hassan, you're a nice enough guy. But we got to let you go. Like, it just seems like you don't want to be here."
Yeah.
And I remember, like, every time they would fire me, they'd be like, "Is there somewhere else you would rather be? Because you seem very disinterested here at Del Taco."
And what would be your answer? Like,
I'd be like, I'll tell you exactly where I want to be. What's crazy is every time they would fire me, I actually did have the answer of exactly what I'd want to be doing and where I'd want to be. Yeah, I wanted to be performing. I wanted to be doing stand-up, but I had to shift that night.
Yeah.
So I'm very lucky, man. I'm lucky. Like, I am extremely lucky that I knew what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
Like, I found something that I was passionate about.
Yeah. And was that the same intention that when you decided to study political science, were you that clear that you were like, I want to study this so that I can be factual and have history? And like, what was that intention like when you were setting yourself up?
I mean, it's just like I was too dumb for pre-med. And I just had a natural inclination for, like, kind of politics, rhetoric, speech and debate. Like, those were my things that I was really into. And so
where did that come from?
Well, in high school, I was a big sort of public speaking,
Yes.
speech and debate kid, right? I did public speaking and all that stuff. And then, in terms of just politics, my dad was actually pretty political and stuff like that.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Had a lot of opinions. There was a lot of sort of shouting at the TV, and he was one of the first people that I could kind of see, like, looking at an issue, having a take or perspective, like cracking jokes. And I just kind of, sometimes I try to think I'm trying to live out Najmi's legacy and be like, I want to take that living room raw and do it on, the biggest stage I possibly can.
That's beautiful, man. I love hearing that, because I think it's so different. Like, yeah, I always joke that I grew up and my parents' three options were the doctor, a lawyer, or a failure.
Yeah.
Like, those are my three options growing up.
Yeah.
And you think about that as well. Like, why do we get fascinated with certain things? And like, for me, it wasn't politics, but for me, it was like spirituality and philosophy. Like that's what I got fascinated by.
But how would you, who gets, like, as a kid who gets into philosophy?
Well, I feel the same way about politics.
Oh, come on. No, don't, Jay, when you're 10, your dad isn't being like, oh, this is Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. You see, this is Letters to Seneca. You're not doing, you're playing Sega. No, you're not. You're not caring about that.
No, so my dad started to read a lot of that when I was young.
Yeah, but as a 10-year-old, I'd refuse to believe that you were into that.
No, I wasn't as a 10-year-old. So you have it right there.
Yeah, you like football.
Yeah.
Proper football.
Yeah, proper.
And you
yeah,
like
real
other things.
football. Thank you so much. Real football. Yes, real football. Anyway, but spirituality became more and more relevant just because I started asking more and more questions. And when I was looking for the answers that I was asking, like, you know, like, why do bad things happen to really good people? Why am I losing people? Why do people die early? All of these kind of questions, I was finding it there. So for me, that's kind of where it went for me.
Now, you grew up, did you grow up as a Buddhist, Christian?
I grew up as a Hindu.
Okay.
So I grew up in a Hindu family.
Yeah.
And my practices now are like very universal. You'd find them in Hinduism and in Buddhism. So you'd see them in multiple places. But I've really looked for, in my personal journey, has been about looking for the universal aspects that everyone can connect with. Because for me, that's kind of what excites me about philosophy and spirituality. Cool. So I'm always looking for where we agree.
There we go. There we go.
But yeah, anyway, back to you.
Yeah.
One of the things I look at in your life, which I think you're so great at doing is introspecting. Right? Like I see you do a lot on the show. You're always introspecting. You're always reflecting. How have you built that habit to be able to do that regularly with your own beliefs? Because you don't sound like someone who's like, this is my belief and this is just the way it is. You sound like you think through your belief often and regularly. I feel that way.
Yeah, and trying to question it.
Yeah.
You know, there's this great documentary with the late comedian Gary Shandling, and he talks about in this doc, and you know, Judd Apatow directed it and produced it, and it's really excellent. But he talked about the art form of comedy really being not a way to become more famous or to stand on stage and have people clap and applaud you and sort of give you validation, but it's an art form of self-exploration and to like figure things out. Like, why do I believe what I believe? Why do I feel this way? And I think much like music, if you treat comedy like an art form, which I believe it is, it really is much like music or writing or poetry. It's an exploration of who you are as a person and why you do what you do.
And what's the belief that you had that through that exploration changed recently, or that you've seen change the most? Like something that you held true and then it's kind of evolved and you're like, oh, wow, like I never thought I'd think that way about that. Is there anything like that? And take a moment. I know.
No, I can't think of anything like that,
one,
like off the top of my head. But there'll always be something that I'm sort of like I'll currently be processing and then just trying to figure it out through my work. And yeah.
What are parts of your journey that no one sees like that? You know, parts of your journey we all see, like, you know, we see the shows, we see this incredible Homecoming King, we see, you know, Patriot Act, we see the 2019 Time, you know, most 100 influential people, and it's an amazing honor, man, and you deserve it. And it's like you see all of that. What's the parts that we haven't seen that you'd like people to be aware of into what it's taken? Like what are the sacrifices, the missed points that I think we don't see? And I'm not asking you to be egotistic because I know you're not, but like I want to hear that because I feel like it's so important for people to hear that.
The stuff that people don't see. I don't think a lot of times people see that how much, especially, you know, in a collaborative creative effort, you're really relying on a core group of people. There's like Jedi that I work with, and I would say it's Prashant, Steve Bodo, Jim Margolis, the people that are around me, all the writers, the news team. Upstairs, you know, we're in our production office, but upstairs, that's where we're having a lot of these like heated discussions and battles a little bit. And I don't think people see, they think that I'm just doing this off the top of the dome and like, no. I'm very much a studio rapper. I'm not a freestyle rapper. Like I go in and we really try to tweak and finesse and just like really focus on every little detail. And I think that's what people, I wish more people knew. Because I think because of Twitter and Instagram and social media, we live in a very much a hot take society, and we got to beat everybody to the next hot take. And I wish, I don't know how both of these things happen, where you have like a hyper reactive society. How do you get people to also see the beauty and like introspection and finessing and refining what you're working on. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't you find it kind of like, don't you ever feel guilty kind of doing what you're doing where you're trying to make spirituality go viral, but like the whole thing with spirituality is a little bit of disconnecting from the likes and the subscribe button?
Yes. Yeah. No, absolutely.
It's the same thing I feel with commerce and art.
No,
art in and of itself, you know, when you put commerce into it, it gets a little ugly. Yes,
I agree. It's the paradox that I find interesting to navigate. Like, I like that paradox. Like, I like the oxymoron of like, how do you balance these two things? Because I'm like, if I was just going to go and sit on a mountaintop and be spiritual, I think overall I'd be like, but I need to give this to someone, or I'd get bored, or it wouldn't even the revelation wouldn't go as deep because I feel like there's so much in experimenting with it. And if I was just on the other side of like, oh yeah, let's just go get likes and let's go get followers, then it's like, that's definitely, we both know that doesn't satisfy you. So it's kind of like that paradox. And I feel like that's what keeps me on my edge.
Got it.
That I'm
You're
always,
walking that fine line.
Correct. And I'm always one step away from my foot falling into either side. And I enjoy that because I think it keeps me in the middle. But that's just kind of like my personal process of enjoying things that don't quite fit.
Yeah.
But I think that's a really valuable point. And I love hearing you say that because I think what you're encouraging is also that I think we live in a world today where it's always about growing yourself. And what you're actually saying that you're getting more from collaborating, debating, discussing, breaking it down behind the scenes.
Yes.
And often off camera, that's happening off camera for you. But in most of our lives, we're not even doing that. Right? Most of our lives are like, okay, let me build my own platform.
Really?
I just feel like for a lot of people who are trying to build their own platform, it's not necessarily like, oh, let's all collaborate and grow. So I saw comedians do this really well. I remember a lot of my friends who are comedians on Instagram and YouTube, they all got together and they collaborated and their brands just grew. But a lot of people just try to grow their lane and their brand without the collaboration, and they didn't grow. And so it's nice to hear you give a shout out to everyone that you're working with.
Yeah, man, they're incredible.
Yeah.
And I certainly hope, much the way Jon Stewart opened this door and we all bear his fingerprints, I hope maybe one day I can hopefully do that for other people too.
What was the best thing you learned from observing Jon Stewart? Like, what was that one moment where you just like this, or was it every day?
You know, he's not a note guy. Like, I always wanted Jewish Yoda to give me these notes. Like, tell me what to do. Like, I just want you tell me how to be funny.
Yeah.
He kind of was like Master Shifu. Like, it was always within you this entire time. He kind of just wants you to, like, you know, why does this make you upset? Why do you find this so funny? And he just kind of tries to pull that out of you.
Yeah.
But he really taught me, I think him and I would say Colbert, and even now, like I see with Oliver, is really how to be like to bring a level of decency and to be a good faith actor. Because there's a lot of clapping back in what we do. You're calling a lot of things out. But I think Steven, Stewart, Oliver, even Trevor, there's a level of sophistication and again, just like a good faith effort.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not trying to just bury you.
Yeah.
And eviscerate you just for the sake of doing that. Like, I really want to do this in a really sort of
spiritual,
not spiritual, but
it's very compassionate.
No,
empathetic.
Sure, but just like be a decent human being about it, you know. And I've seen people enter the Lion's Den with both Trevor and Steven, and they'll both handle it really, really well. They won't like have the audience just gang up on them, Jerry Springer style. And so one of the best things that I sort of learned from them is to be, you know, when you're saying something or if you're going to poke at something, is to be like really specific in what you're saying instead of like punching every which way.
Yeah.
It's almost to just be like, it's like a sniper shot and like, and this is the thing I'm trying to say, or like, this is the thing that we need to sort of assess and analyze.
Yeah. I love the humanity in that. I feel like that's often missed because I feel like when you're making people laugh, it's so easy for the audience member to just assume that you kind of just went for the easiest shot or whatever it is, right? Like, it's easy for the audience.
Yeah,
sure. Yeah, it's not that you're doing that.
Sure.
But it's easy for the audience to just feel like, oh yeah, like this is hilarious and I'm laughing. But I feel like we don't hear the humanity. Yeah. And I think almost as an audience, we need to raise our game.
Sure.
So that we recognize that actually, let's look at the depth of this argument.
The word,
let's look at
the word I was looking for is be surgical.
Yes. Wow. Yeah.
And like when I saw John do a monologue after the Sandy Hook shooting, he was surgical in his analysis of the way America is dealing with guns. you know?
Yeah.
Like, he's not just like screaming out hyperbole for the sake of the
It's
hyperbole.
not a spray gun approach. Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
like that right there. And then he would build the act around that. Just me watching that was like, wow. And I think that lasts the test of time. You're going to take less L's when you're really specific about what are you critiquing here.
Yeah.
And then you kind of become better about like, yeah, I know there's going to be blowback, but that's fine.
Yeah.
I've like come to terms with this because I've closed all the other doors.
Yes.
And I sort of picked the highest hanging fruit
Yeah.
to take.
I love that. That's just great advice for all of us in conflict. Like, that's just a great, like, that message and lesson you've just taught us there. Like, that's perfect for like workplace issues, relationship issues. Like, that can be applied anywhere.
Yeah.
Like, not just to your work. It's such a great principle of like, if you are going to debate, discuss, or argue on something, make sure it's done in this way.
Sure. Like, I can make fun of the shoes, the clothes, the this, the that, the way you look, your hair. Like, nah, we're not going to do that.
Yeah, it's too easy.
I'm going to be surgical about this specific choice that I feel is hypocritical and speaks to a larger issue.
Yes.
Then you're kind of like, oh shit, all right, like this dude has come to play.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
all right.
Yeah. And then the other person also can't run away from it and use all the other stuff. So no, I love that, man. That's awesome. What is being a father? How's that changed your view on life? How old's your daughter now?
My daughter is now 19 months.
Wow, 19.
Yeah.
Amazing.
You know, one of the cool things that a friend of mine told me that I didn't really realize, Wajahat Ali, he told me that like when you have kids, and he's a little bit older than me, but he told me it's the first time you start praying for other people than yourself.
Ooh.
Like everything I pray for is for her.
Yes.
And I'm not even like, when I'm asking God, like I'm not even asking for me. It's kind of crazy. I mean, I know with God, you get like unlimited asks, but I'm just like, I know you don't got time. So let me just like, I know you got like a quick sec. Just like, can you just throw a blessing her way?
I love that, man.
You know what I mean? And like, and I'm happy. Like, that's like me getting Jordans.
Yeah.
Like, I want her to get Jordans, you know?
Yeah.
Like God, just like, please hook it up for her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And do you?
And I don't even care that like what to even ask for myself.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
Isn't that an unbelievable feeling to believe that's even possible?
Yeah, but then the thing that messes with me is also why, like, when I go take her to say Gymboree or like watch her play with other kids, I could give a fuck about any of the other kids. How messed up is that?
Yeah.
Like, I'm so selfless. I care about this. Like, I care about this creature. No. I care about my creature.
Yeah.
So that's also like, dude, you're not as woke as you think you are. You're not as deep as you think you are. Like, I'm at Gymboree. There's like 19 other like kids with boogers. I'm like, yo, keep the boogers away.
Yeah.
So it's cool, and it's also, you know, it also has made me like check myself too in interesting, weird ways. And that's an example of something that I'm trying to be introspective of, and like through comedy.
Yes.
Like, that's a common take that I hear. Now that you're a father, you must be so selfless. I'm like, my parents were pretty selfish.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, no, I get that. See, mine's the other way around. So when I lived as a monk, so much of our focus was on building that love and service attitude towards everyone.
That's great.
So it was like a monk becomes a monk because the whole world becomes your family, because now you don't have a biological family of your own.
Yeah.
And so this mindset is trained. But then when I came back, I realized that I started treating my own family as less than or the same as everyone else.
Oh, interesting.
And then my family took offense to that too, because then they were just kind of like, oh, but we're your family, you know? So then it was that way around. I was like, oh, this is a complicated one.
Gotcha.
Like,
but you're like, no, Safeway's my family.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Safeway, like everyone that I meet and everyone that I see. And I've loved that attitude towards it. But I get you. And for me, I think I do believe in us going above and beyond and stretching that definition of family, because as soon as you start doing that, you know this. I mean, I think you are to some degree. Because I guess would you describe that the work you're doing is also to change the world that your daughter grows up in? Do you feel that way? Do you feel that responsibility, or no, not really? That's not really where it goes.
No, I'm just trying to do the best possible work that I can. I think that like if I put that assignment,
it's too big.
Yeah, I got to change the world vis-a-vis my show. That's I mean, come on, man. It's just like this is my journey while, you know, hopefully I'm on this earth, that I do sort of significant, meaningful work that I feel is challenging, and I empty the tank. That's really it. And so I'm just holding myself accountable. Is that the best joke you could really do? Is that the best show you could put together?
Yeah.
Like, come on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And what's the metric of that question? Like, is that a self imposed metric of like,
yeah, when I go to sleep at night, I know what it is.
Yeah, right. Okay.
You know what it is. Like, you know when you phoned it in, you know when you didn't.
Yeah.
And like the way you go to sleep, you can really tell.
How can people build that as a way of living? Because I love that. And I agree with you. I think that the most purposeful, meaningful, fulfillment-driven people in the world measure things by how they feel when they go to sleep at night. But I think sometimes we get lost in measuring ourselves by how everyone else sleeps at night almost.
Oh,
you know, like I don't think that's what you've just said is not very common. Like I don't hear many people say that. Like there's such an intuition there, right? Your intuition's so strong. Like you're so aware of like, yeah, I feel happy tonight. Like I feel that I've done enough tonight. I feel like I've done my best. How do you think? And I'm asking you to unpack it. I'm not expecting you to be like, this is my 3-step method. Like,
look, I just, you know, like, I don't know what put it inside of me to want to try. My dad tells me this all the time. He's like, you know, cause I have me and my sister, he's like, you've just been different. You've always sort of tried at things. And he was clowning me the other day. It was like, you've also publicly failed a lot, but I don't understand why you sort of put yourself through that. Yeah. And I was like, what do you mean, Dad? He's like, I remember I used to take you to soccer games. You were really bad at soccer. People would make fun of you. You were slow. Like he was just roasting me. But he's like, you would try really hard. He's like, I kept taking you to basketball tryouts. You would get cut every year, but you'd show up. Like, I don't understand why you would do that. Yeah. But I remember like, even early on in comedy, still, you know, when I'm trying to do stuff in show business, I'm just failing. I think it's just like, you reach this moment where like you interviewed for that job and you know that like, you took that shower, you brushed, you flossed, and you used mouthwash. Like you tied your shoes the right way, you pulled up your socks the right way, you were prepared, you went through all the talking points that, you know, your manager is going to ask you about. And if it still doesn't go your way, you're just kind of like, what more can I do? I'm at that age now where it's like, I also can't debate. I can't wish that I could be someone else. Like the verdict is out. I'll never be able to dunk. I'll never be able to rap. I'll never be able, like, it's a wrap. Hassan Minhaj, God didn't give me that gift. And it was just by virtue of trying all those different things, failing. And you can just kind of be at peace with it.
Absolutely.
They're just like, I did it. I tried. I was not good at those things.
Yeah. I love the roast you got from your father about Shah Rukh Khan.
Yeah.
That was good.
Yeah, it was really good.
That was great.
It was great.
That was great. I love that. I thought that was brilliant.
Yeah.
And,
but you know what? I really love him because of that. Like, you don't have to take yourself that seriously. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of like, you got to take yourself very seriously. And I just think that like, we all have flaws and pimples and just kind of laugh at it. And I think that's more endearing than being like, I'm the fucking best.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. No, but there's a lot of like, everybody's trying to be like an NFL wide receiver where they're just like out of their mind and like, do you know who I am? You know how blue check verified I am? You're like, relax, man.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. I agree with that. I'm with you. I think that from what I'm hearing you say, what gets me thinking is just like, you're not living to prove yourself to anyone. And that's when things get really serious and thick, whether it's your parents or whether it's society or friends or whatever it is. And that's when it kind of gets scary to fail or it gets scary to mess up because now you're constantly like, what will people say? How will people think? How will they react?
To me, it's always been about like the fuel. So when you got the chip on your shoulder, which is great, like it's like espresso in the morning, you got that chip on your shoulder where you want to prove someone wrong. Like, oh man, this guy was hating on me. This dude said something about me on Twitter. Oh, this producer wants to keep me out of this project. Yeah, like hatred and vengeance is a pretty good fuel. The problem is it doesn't burn very efficiently.
Correct. Yeah.
Like it just kind of tapers off. It's just not a good energy source.
Can get you ignited.
Correct.
That's it.
Correct. Whereas like when you're trying to prove it to yourself every day, the way that that plays out over time, it just plays out a little bit better.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It doesn't taper off after like 3 days or, you know what I mean?
Tell me about, this is one thing that I've been wanting to ask you for a while. Like, how do you go about, and we've talked a lot about, I think, you know, in this podcast already, we've talked a lot about like conflict, debate, discussion, how to manage that. How do you go about connecting with someone who's already made their mind up about something and trying to take them to the other side or a deeper side? Like, what's your vision with that? When you're speaking to a group of people, if I put you right now in a room of people who completely disagreed with you, what would Hassan Minhaj do?
Well, I've sort of come to terms with two realities. Like, number one, just accepting and believing the truth is the truth. Even if like people don't want to go there, the truth is still objectively the truth, right? And then number two, like, my job really isn't to convince you, because people ask me this all the time. They're like, man, you did that big episode on blah, blah, blah. But what if people on the other side of the aisle disagree with you? I go, that's not the point of even creating the thing to begin with.
Yeah.
It's just to present it.
Mm-hmm.
And if you come along, great. If you don't, again, the truth is still the truth.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't negate what you know.
Yeah, I love that. See, the message I get when I'm listening to you today, and I felt I knew this today, felt I knew this by observing you, but obviously getting to know you a bit better today, like, there's just so much satisfaction and contentment in doing the work. Like, when I'm hearing you speak, what I mean by that is you have so much satisfaction and contentment in just doing what you believe is right, doing what you believe is the best, trying to find the truth and presenting that as it is. And that's where you get your satisfaction.
Yeah.
And that is such a great place to get your satisfaction.
Sure.
Because no one can ever take that away from you.
Yeah.
Right? Like, no one can ever take that away from you. And that applies to everyone who's listening and watching right now. It's like, when you get your satisfaction from the deep work, the creativity, the research, the reflection, the introspection, that's something you can do time and time and time and time again. But when you're waiting for that one person to agree or people to shift their minds and be like, oh, because of you, Hassan, I changed my mind.
Yeah, they're not,
Like,
I have like people that I love, people I grew up with that still like completely disagree with me, that some of them didn't think I was doing the right things in terms of like personal choices I've made, professional choices I've made. That's okay. And I think if anybody could see this from my work, I certainly hope, or I would just like to add this to the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
You can still disagree with people and love them very much.
100%.
But that is not a common reality that's happening right now in discourse. Like, if you're Democrat or if you're Republican or if you're this or if you're that, you have to be canceled. Like, we've had some tough episodes on this show. We do this whole thing about policing. I'm leaving the studio. All the people that do security for our show are former policemen. That's a tough conversation, man. Like, you know what I'm saying? I've been in so many of the belly of those sort of beasts where, oh man, you are criticizing tech companies and you're doing it in front of tech executives. And then you guys
on a big tech platform.
Yeah, on a big tech platform. And then you have to go to the bar and talk to each other.
Mm-hmm.
But I think all I want to try to show through my work is we can still disagree and I can still like love you and see the humanity in you. And that's all I can control.
Yeah. I love that, man. Yeah, I'm with you. I think that's such a great place to just leave it all out on the table and you're discuss truth.
Yeah.
But then not take it. And I think that's the challenge, right? Like what you're saying, like right now the holidays are coming up.
Yeah.
And I know I usually get like the number one question I get asked.
How do we talk about this at Thanksgiving?
Number one question. Yeah. Thanksgiving, Christmas coming up. Like, Jay, I'm going to have to manage. Like, I probably get very different questions to you about the same thing.
Yeah.
But like for me, it's not like, how do I have a question about this specific issue? For me, it's always like, oh, well, Jay, like, I know this person's going to bring this up and it's going to get real negative and toxic quick. Like, how do I deal with that?
Yeah. And what do you tell them?
Well, I think what you just said right now is a great answer. What I'm saying is you've given the answer. Like,
oh, wow.
Yeah. I'm saying you've given the answer. Like, I love that. I think you're making the point that I think we have to separate people's humanity from their views. And we have to respect them on a humanity level. And the fact that we all bleed the same blood and, you know, have that connection and that ideas and beliefs do form us to some degree, but not the whole of us.
Yeah.
And being able to make that distinction is so important.
Yeah.
Yeah. How do you go about encouraging people to make that distinction further?
I don't know.
Because you've achieved it.
There's just been moments where I've seen it in their eyes. Like, I'll be like, I completely disagree with what you have to say about that issue. Like, I 100,000% disagree.
Yeah.
However, I think you're a beautiful person and I love you. And they'll be like, oh, so you just don't want to kill me? You don't want to cancel me? You don't want to like ridicule me in front of everybody on the internet? I'm like, no, I'm telling you, you're
wrong.
You're wrong about that. Like, your jeans are too tight, but I love you.
Are you telling me that right now?
Yeah. Like, I'm saying, I think that they're a little too tight.
You think they're too tight?
But I think,
oh, thanks.
Okay. Despite that, I love you. So you could be like, I disagree with your position on, you know, this prime minister. However, I think like you're still my grandmother and I love you.
Yeah.
you know what I mean? I don't think Brexit was a good decision, but
yes,
I love you, grandma.
Yeah, I don't take responsibility for that.
Yeah. But do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
and
they're just like, look, like,
because I think the point being that there is always going to be someone disagreeing with you about something small or big. And so none of us are living lives where every decision we made was perfect.
Yeah.
So No, I love that. I love that viewpoint, man. That's awesome. I'm going to shift forward because we only got a few moments left. I want to shift forward to, we end every interview with the final 5. And I've still got a million questions for you, but we're going to have to do this again.
Okay.
We're going to have to do this again.
Let's do a part 2.
Yeah, we will definitely do a part 2 because there is so much that we've just skimmed over today and there's so much we can go through. So,
I hope this was valuable in some capacity.
very valuable. I think, for me, it's like I said to you before when we did the Kobe interview, it's like, there are plenty of people who can have a great political discussion with you. That was not my intention today.
Yeah.
There's great people who will be able to talk about issues with you. It's not me. It's not my strength, But today, my goal, my intention was simply for people to see the humanity, the intention, the purpose that goes into your work. And I think we've done that.
Okay.
Like, I think people will be able to listen to this and be like, oh, I understand how Hassan thinks about life, humanity, and how he constructs this work. It's not just... so if we've been able to do that, then that's a win for me.
That's great. All right.
But yeah, man. Okay, we're going to do the final 5. These are answered in 1 word to 1 sentence maximum.
Okay.
You will probably be too deep for me, so I'll have to let you share more. So I will let you go there. But the first question is, what's one thing you're currently learning right now?
Patience.
Oh, okay. What's testing your patience and in what area of life?
I think both like at work, trying to line up that interview or trying to line up that piece, or why isn't the script where it needs to be? It's understanding that, like, hey man, close your eyes. It'll be a week from now and it'll probably be better, or the verdict will be out.
Yeah.
Like, oh, that piece isn't going to work. Oh, that interview just isn't going to happen.
So true.
Like, for better or for worse, the answer will be there.
Yes.
Like, it will either live or die.
100%.
And you'll have come to terms with both realities.
Yeah.
So just be okay. You don't have to get turned about it today.
I love that. So true. I would 100% agree with that. Okay,
Yeah.
question number 2.
Yeah.
If you lost everything and had to start over, what's the first thing you'd do?
If I lost everything and I had to start over, what's the first thing I would do?
Yeah.
Practically, I would probably learn the technical aspects of all this stuff now, because like all these like sort of digital revolution realities are now very real now. And I think this is the new way we communicate. So that's like from a very pragmatic perspective, like learn to program, learn the language of all this new technology as like the medium and water and through which we communicate. But I think the thing I would probably tell myself is that like, it'll be all right, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. You did it before. You'll be able to do it again. You'll be all right.
Strong advice. Awesome. Number 3, the number 1 trait you love in your wife.
The number 1 trait?
Yeah.
I love
quality.
Yeah, the quality, selflessness.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. When did you start seeing that in her? Because you've been
the moment I've known her since college.
Yeah. I know, that's what I'm saying. I remember you told your proposal story.
Yeah. So I was, I saw it since college.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. What was it in college that she showed that? Like, how did she show you that in college?
She would make all the people in our dorm floor quesadillas.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
And even people that were like assholes, I'm like, don't give them a quesadilla.
But she did it.
Yeah.
Wow.
I was like, let them starve.
That's awesome.
And she's like, no, I can't. And people love her. Like, people genuinely love her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
For all the right. And she does it like with or without props. It's not being like, it's not an Instagram stories or anything like that. It's like.
Yeah, I remember that day because I was late on my flight and I came in late.
Yeah.
And you guys had saved like the cold leftovers, but then she ordered me fresh food
Yeah.
when I got there.
Yeah.
And I was just like, wow. And it was the first time I met her.
And she didn't
obviously.
even know who Jay Shetty was.
Yeah, it was the
She's like,
first time I
this
met her.
guy's
Yeah.
late. And I go, you don't know, he's making spirituality viral. And she's like, I don't care. He deserves hot food.
No, but she was
was
really
beautiful.
sweet.
It was really
She was so
beautiful.
sweet. No, I really
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah.
Like I remembered it. I was like, wow, like she really. Yeah.
And I was like, did you do that because he's friends with Ellen? And she's like, no, that has nothing to do with anything.
Thank
That
you.
to me is what I love most about her. Like,
I
that's
love that.
really dope.
I love that. Question number 4. What's non-negotiable for you in life? Like what's something you don't negotiate on for yourself?
Non-negotiable.
Yeah, for yourself.
I gotta do and pursue what I love.
Mm.
I just have to. I can't. If I do anything else, I'm gonna die.
Mm.
I just can't.
Do you think you'd be a bad person if you weren't able to?
I would have been a very angry person.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, and I just
can
don't.
relate to that.
I just don't want to do that.
Yeah, I can,
You know what I mean? I gotta say
I
what
can
I gotta
relate.
say. I gotta express myself.
I always say that. Yeah, I feel the same way. I always tell people, I'm like, if I wasn't doing what I loved every day, it wouldn't have been great. Like, yeah, the part of you that would come out wouldn't be the best. So,
Yeah.
I love that. Okay, and 5th and final question: what's one moment in your life you wish could have lasted forever?
One moment in my life.
Yeah,
Probably my daughter's really into balloons. But the first time this is like even just a couple weeks ago, I blew up a balloon in front of her and she was laughing really, really hard. That's it. Like there was this big blue balloon.
and it blew up.
Yeah. And I just blew it up and then like tapped it against her head and she thought it was the funniest thing in the world.
I love that.
Yeah. And I was like, tap, tap. She was dying. Tap, tap. She's like exploding with laughter. Yeah.
I love that, man.
If I could just boomerang that
Yeah,
for the rest.
boomerang that forever.
Yeah.
I love that. I've never done this before, but I'm going to ask you because I think if you could give everyone something that they had to do daily, what would you ask people to do? If you could give everyone in the world a practice that they had to do daily for the next 30 days, what would you want them to do?
Okay. What is the hardest thing that you can do today? Just write it down and try to do it.
Okay.
What's the hardest task that you can do today? It can't be like one of those things where it's just like, I'm going to start the company. It's not that. It's like, what's the hardest task that you can do today? It can only be accomplished in 24 hours and do that.
I love that. That is a great answer.
So
I'm
if it's
glad
like,
answered that question.
I have to sit down and write 3 pages, free write 3 pages. That's going to be really hard for me. Or like, I gotta run 1 mile on incline 5 on the treadmill. That's going to be really hard but it's like, you can do it in one day. So it has to be the hardest task of that day. I'm going to take a cold shower. Whatever that thing is, has to be the hardest task that you can do in 1 calendar day.
I love that. That is going to stick with me
For
for
yourself.
a long time. I love that, man. Awesome, Manoj. Thank you so much,
you.
bro. You're amazing.
Thanks, bro.
Please, let's do a part 2 because there are so
real?
many other things we can talk about. Yes.
You really want to do a part 2?
I 100% want to do a part 2.
Okay.
I'm going to wear looser trousers.
I'm
Look
gonna
how
you
tight
know,
mine are. No, messing around.
All right.
Thank you, man. Thank you so much for doing
you,
this.
man.